I walked past a house in my old neighborhood yesterday, a small, two-bedroom bungalow with a patchy lawn and a porch that's seen better decades. In 2012, that house sold for $180,000. Today, there's a fresh sign in the yard with a price tag of $645,000. I stood on the sidewalk and looked at that peeling paint, trying to find where the extra $500,000 of value was hiding. It wasn't in the square footage, it wasn't in the school district, and it certainly wasn't in the kitchen linoleum. That's when it hit me. We are currently living through the greatest rebranding campaign in human history. We are being told that a dilapidated structure costing nearly 10 times the median individual income is a starter home. In what version of reality is over $500,000 a starting point? That's not a start. For most people, that is a finish line they will never cross. We're going to look at the actual cold-blooded math of what the American dream costs in today's market, because the math doesn't care about your nostalgia, and it definitely doesn't care about the brochures. Before we dive into these numbers, I want to ask you a question. Does your current paycheck feel like it's actually yours, or are you just a middleman for your mortgage and your utility companies? If you've looked at a Zillow listing lately and felt a genuine sense of panic, I want you to hit that like button right now, not just for the algorithm, but so I know how many of us are actually seeing the same thing. And if you're tired of being told that you just need to work harder while the goalposts are being moved miles down the field every single year, subscribe and join this community. We are building a space here for people who prefer the uncomfortable truth over a comfortable lie. Drop a comment below with the price of the cheapest house in your area right now. Let's expose just how widespread this distortion really is. Your engagement helps ensure this message reaches the people who are currently being gaslit by the industry. Now, let's get into the math that no one wants to show you. The term starter home used to mean something specific. It was a modest house, maybe a bit cramped, that a young couple could buy on a single teacher's or mechanic's salary. You'd live there for 5 years, build some equity, and move up. But today, the entry level has been obliterated. When the floor of the market is $600,000, the ladder hasn't just lost its bottom rungs. The ladder is on fire. What we're seeing isn't just inflation. It's a structural redefinition of what it means to be a middle-class adult. If you want to understand where the entire economy is going, you have to look at the starter home, because that is the canary in the coal mine. When the most basic version of a product becomes unaffordable for 80% of the population, the product is no longer for the population. It's a luxury good disguised as a necessity. Let's talk about the down payment, the first giant wall everyone hits. To buy that $600,000 fixer-upper with 20% down, you need $120,000 in cash, just sitting there, liquid, ready to go. To put that in perspective, the median American household has about $8,000 in total savings. You aren't just a little short. You are an entire decade of perfect, flawless saving away from even qualifying for the privilege of debt. And even if you go the 3.5% route, you're walking into a massive monthly payment fueled by high interest rates and private mortgage insurance. PMI is essentially a tax on being poor. It's a monthly fee you pay to protect the bank from you because you didn't have enough money to avoid the fee in the first place. It adds hundreds to your payment every month, buying you exactly zero equity. But the mortgage is just the cover charge. The real American dream killer is the hidden cost of ownership that has quietly doubled in the last 3 years. Property taxes are being reassessed at these new, bloated valuations, meaning your monthly bill can jump by $400 overnight just because your neighbor sold their house to an investment firm. Then there's insurance. We are entering the era of the uninsurable home. In states like Florida, California, and Louisiana, premiums aren't just rising, they're exploding. Major carriers are pulling out entirely, leaving homeowners to rely on state-backed plans that cost more and cover less. If you're budgeting for a house today and you aren't accounting for a 15% annual increase in insurance and taxes, you aren't planning, you're gambling. Think about the maintenance. There is a specific kind of stress that only comes from owning a home built in the 1970s that is priced like a mansion. When you pay top dollar for an old house, you are buying a ticking time bomb of deferred maintenance. A new roof is $20,000. A HVAC system is $12,000. A foundation issue is a blank check written to a contractor. In the old days, you had a repair fund. Today, most people are so stretched just to make the mortgage payment that a broken water heater isn't an inconvenience. It's a financial catastrophe that goes straight onto a credit card at 24% interest. This is how the middle-class trap snaps shut. You buy the house to build wealth, but the house eats your ability to save, leaving you with an asset you can't afford to maintain and a lifestyle you can't afford to enjoy. I want you to meet a hypothetical couple, though I bet you know someone just like them. Let's call them Sarah and Mike. They make a combined $160,000 a year. On paper, they are the success story. They did everything right. They went to college. They got the corporate jobs. They saved. They finally bought a starter home for $550,000. But after the mortgage, the property taxes, the skyrocketing insurance, and the daycare for their 2 kids, they are left with less than $500 at the end of the month. One $500 mistake, a flat tire, a dental emergency, a broken fridge, and they are in the red. They are living in a $500,000 house, and they're afraid to buy the expensive eggs at the grocery store. They are high earners, but they are not rich. They are Henrys, high earners, not rich yet. And for many in this generation, the yet is never coming. They are running on a treadmill that is speeding up faster than they can sprint. If this sounds like a situation you're in, or one you're terrified of entering, you aren't alone. And honestly, it's not your fault. You are trying to play a game where the rules were written for your grandparents' economy. If you find this breakdown helpful, take a second to share this video with one person you know who is currently house hunting. It might be the most important financial advice they get this year. We have to talk about the psychological toll of this dream. There is a specific kind of exhaustion that comes from being house poor. It's the late-night math sessions at the kitchen table. It's the resentment that grows when you realize you can't take a vacation for the next 5 years because the house needs windows. It's the feeling of being trapped in a job you hate because you can't risk even a single month of lost income. We were told that home ownership is freedom, but for a huge percentage of new buyers, it's a gilded cage. You own the dirt, but the bank owns your time, your stress levels, and your future. The most controversial thing I can tell you today is this: you don't have to buy. The culture will tell you that renting is throwing money away, but that is a lie propagated by people who make commissions on sales. Paying $6,000 a month for a mortgage you can barely afford is also throwing money away. It's just throwing it at interest, taxes, and maintenance instead of a landlord. Renting is buying flexibility. It's buying a capped monthly cost. It's buying the ability to invest your down payment into the stock market, where it can actually grow instead of being locked in a stagnant pile of bricks. $100,000 invested in a total market index fund over 30 years, compounded, will likely outperform the equity in a starter home by a massive margin, especially when you factor in the hundreds of thousands you'd spend on interest and repairs. The American dream isn't a house. The American dream is supposed to be financial agency. It's the ability to choose how you spend your days. If the house takes away that choice, it's not a dream. It's a nightmare with a white picket fence. We are seeing a massive shift in the labor market. Jobs are no longer for life. Industries are being disrupted by AI and automation at a pace we've never seen. In an economy that requires you to be mobile and adaptable, tying yourself to a 30-year debt obligation for an overpriced asset is the most dangerous thing you can do. The grown-up move isn't signing the papers, because that's what adults are supposed to do. The grown-up move is looking at the math, realizing it's broken, and having the courage to walk away. So why is this happening? Why are these houses still selling? Because we are in a transition period where the top 15% of earners are still doing well enough to bid these prices up. They are rolling equity from previous homes or getting gifts from their parents. But the gap between that top 15% and everyone else is becoming an abyss. We are moving toward a rentership society where ownership is reserved for the elite and institutional investors. When hedge funds buy up starter homes to turn them into permanent rentals, they aren't just buying real estate, they're buying your future labor. They know that as long as you need a roof over your head, you will keep working to pay them. This isn't just about real estate. This is about a success mindset that needs to be updated for 2026. True success in this decade isn't about looking like you've made it. It's about actually having the freedom to leave a bad situation. If you have $200,000 in a brokerage account and you're renting a clean, modest apartment, you are infinitely more powerful than the person living in a $700,000 house with a maxed-out credit card and no savings. One of these people is a slave to the system. The other is a customer of it. Which one do you want to be? I want you to think about the year 2031. If you buy that overpriced starter home today, Where will you be in 5 years? Will you have more wealth, or will you just have more gray hair and a longer commute? If the math in your city doesn't work, don't try to force it. The market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. Wait for the correction, wait for your income to grow, or move to a market where the numbers actually make sense. There is no prize for being the person who paid the most for a house that needs a new roof. We are at a crossroads. The old path, the one our parents walked, is closed. It's blocked by high interest, low inventory, and corporate greed. But a new path is open for those who are willing to see the world as it actually is. That path involves building passive income, staying lean, and refusing to participate in a bubble that is designed to drain the middle class. It's about realizing that standard financial advice is often just marketing for the banking industry. If you've made it this far, it's because you know something is wrong. You can feel the disconnect between your paycheck and the world around you. Don't ignore that feeling. That is your survival instinct telling you to run the numbers one more time. The real cost of a starter home today isn't just the price tag. It's the opportunity cost of your entire life. Make sure you're willing to pay it before you sign that line. Before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought. Wealth isn't what you own, it's what you can afford to lose. If losing your job means losing your home in 60 days, you don't own that home. You're just babysitting it for the bank. True financial freedom comes from the gap between what you earn and what you spend. The bigger that gap, the more free you are. Don't let a starter home close that gap forever. If this video gave you a new perspective, do me a favor. Leave a comment with the word freedom. It helps me know who stayed until the very end, and it helps the algorithm realize that this is a conversation people need to hear. We're going to keep breaking down these hidden truths every single week, so make sure your notifications are on. You cannot win a game if you don't understand the rules, and the rules of the American dream just changed. It's time we started playing accordingly. The reality of 2026 is that the middle class is being squeezed out of the very markets they built. Teachers, nurses, and first responders are being told they aren't qualified to live in the communities they serve. This is a structural failure, not a personal one. When you realize that, the shame of not being able to afford a house disappears and is replaced by the clarity of knowing that the system is what's broken, not you. Use that clarity. Build your own dream, on your own terms, and don't let anyone tell you that a 30-year debt on a shack is the only way to be an adult. Your life is worth more than that. Your time is worth more than that. And your future is too important to gamble on a math equation that doesn't add up. Stay smart, stay liquid, and I'll see you in the next one.